This is the primarily lesson 10.1, which is solving systems of equations, but I just want to finish that last problem of 5.5, which we did kind of quickly. And it's when you bring the ln x over the other side, so you have ln x plus 6 equals negative ln x, and then you take e of both sides, base e of both sides, and you get x plus 6 equals 1 over x, because this is x to the negative 1, which is 1 over x. And you do cross products, x squared plus 6x equals 1, so you get x squared plus 6x minus 1 equals 0. And then you do your quadratic formula, and you get negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 36 minus 4 times 1 times negative 1, 2. Negative 6 plus or minus square root of 42. Negative 6 plus or minus is 2, 4, and 10. Negative 3 plus or minus radical 10. Now you can't have minus because that's going to be a negative log, so it's negative 3 plus radical 10, which we can write more succinctly as 10 radical negative 10, 10 minus radical 3. Sorry, I didn't show that. Here's a quadratic formula. And then you can take out a 4 and a 10 here to make it 2 radical 10. And then you can divide out the 2's. And you get 10 minus radical 3. You don't do the plus, you don't do the negative 3 minus radical 10 because that'd be a negative number and you can't put a negative number inside a log. Now back to 10.1, where they ask you to, you have two equations at the same time, two equations, two unknowns. Substitute that in. So this means y equals 8. Minus 24, negative x so you can say negative x equals 12, x equals negative 12. Okay, so you're basically substituting one value into the other. In this case, you could solve for x here and we get x equals 1, and then you put a 1 in for the value of x here. So you're going to get 6 times 1 plus 4y equals negative 18. 4y equals negative, positive 6 minus 18. 4y equals negative 12. Y equals negative 3. But they want this as a system. I forgot to say that. So if x equals negative 12 here, and y equals 8. So they want this to write this as coordinates. So it's going to be 8. Negative 12 comma 8. They want you to write the answer as a solution of x comma y. There it is. So once we figure out that y is negative 3, then we know that x was 1 here, so we just put them together. 1 xy equals 1 comma negative 3. Down here, no, you're going to multiply. You could multiply the top one by 3, negative 3, and add it. 3x negative 15y equals negative 54. Add those together and you're going to get 0x plus 0y equals 0. And that's called the dependent system. Dependent system means when you have many answers you can put in for x and y, an infinite number of answers that would make this true. I could put 5 and 10, any number I want, and it makes this true. So that's called a dependent system. So an independent system, so inconsistent system is when you have an answer that doesn't make any sense, but this one does, has many answers. Now number 4. For number 4, you're going to want to, say, multiply the top one by negative 1 and see what happens. What you're trying to do is eliminate one variable. Well, if you have 3x, maybe what do you have to do to this to make it negative 3x? Multiply by negative 1. So you should get y equals 1. So y equals 1. So if y equals 1, you can substitute that back into one of these equations. 3x plus 2 equals negative 1. So you get 3x equals negative 3. X equals negative 1. So you get negative 1 comma 1. So for number 5, you could multiply the top one by 3 to make positive 3x. And you combine both equations and you get 0x plus 0y equals negative 2. Now this is the case where it's an inconsistent system because there are no numbers they put in for x and y to equal negative 2 here. That's called inconsistent. Inconsistent. That means that there are no pairs of x's and y's that make that work. So in this case, for number 6, do what we need to do. You can multiply this top one by negative 2 maybe. 6x minus 4y equals 16. Add that together and you get 0x plus 0y equals 0. That's a dependent system. Then they want you to solve one variable in terms of another. So you have 3x plus 2y equals negative 8. Oops. Alright, sorry, when you multiply it by negative 2, we're going to get this equation. You combine these two and you get 0x. Combine these two and you get 0y. Combine these two and you get 0. This is a dependent system. So that means you could put any infinite number of x's and y's that would work. Then they ask you to solve for one variable in terms of another. So you get negative 2y minus 8 divided by negative 3. 2/3 y plus 8/3. So x equals 2/3 y plus 8/3. And y is equal to y. And y could be any real number. So y is y, and then x is going to be 2/3 of whatever y is plus 8/3.